DJ Storms! And I would like to welcome each and every single one of you back here to the channel on YouTube.com. As of course, you already know who I am, Mr. Controversy, and the operator of the best damn Twitter handle known to mankind. This is, of course, the Lightning Flash update for March 15th, 2019. We are on the road toward WrestleMania, and a pretty newsworthy week as far as the weekly shows go for WWE. There was a lot to go in to each and every single one of the weekly shows. There was a lot to come out of each and every single one of the weekly shows. I got some interesting news, rumors, and reports, which we will talk about near the end of the video. First things first, I got a couple of announcements. We've reached 250 subscribers, motherfuckers. So, the road to 300 is getting closer and closer to that end. So, if you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe. I'm trying to get to 300 subscribers. I was originally setting the goal for the summer, but, you know, since I've actually been progressing quite nicely, I'm actually going to set a new goal. Let's see if we can get this channel to 300 by Money in the Bank, which is May 19th. So, without further ado, why don't we get right into the weekly show reviews? That's the only way to start off the Lightning Flash update. Monday Night Raw. I mean, who the fuck cares? Seriously, who cares? Who cares about Monday Night Raw? Seriously, Monday Night Raw was absolutely sleep-inducing. I mean, like, that's the word that everyone seems to be throwing around as far as Twitter goes recently. I was falling asleep just watching the opening segment. I mean, this whole show started off with the Shield promo. Roman Reigns coming out cutting the most boring, generic Shield promo for the Shield's farewell address. Went 6-7 minutes. Who cares? Who cares about the Shield this rate? Unless you're one of these fucking fangirls that are all upset and crying in a ball on the floor just because Dean Ambrose is leaving. And yeah, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you. Fuck you, Rachel Moon. You hypersensitive bitch. Anyway, so Roman and Dean leave. Heyman and Rollins then had a back-and-forth exchange. Obviously, this is leading towards Rollins and Lesnar at WrestleMania. Rollins was talking about how Brock Lesnar had trouble with guys his stature, guys of his agility. And Heyman goes, hey, Brock Lesnar never had time to prepare for any of these guys you speak of. It wasn't supposed to be Brock Lesnar versus AJ Styles. It was supposed to be Brock Lesnar versus Jinder Mahal. But Styles ended up taking Mahal's place when he won the WWE title. Then it was supposed to be Brock Lesnar versus AJ Styles at Survivor Series 2018. But Daniel Bryan ended up taking AJ Styles' spot. Royal Rumble 2019, it was supposed to be not AJ Styles. It was supposed to be Brock Lesnar versus Braun Strowman. But Finn Balor took his place. Heyman goes on to say that Rollins won the Rumble in January. Lesnar has had 2 months to prepare for Rollins. This led to Shelton Benjamin coming out pretty much out of nowhere. And they made light of the fact that Shelton Benjamin and Brock Lesnar, they trained together and they went to the University of Minnesota together. And I don't really mind the match between Benjamin and Rollins. I mean, both men can work. Both men are great in the ring. And we ended up getting a decent match. But WWE pretty much said, you know, fuck the brand split, and huge logic gap right in there. Even if Heyman did pay Benjamin to be there, I think he said he might have, but I might have missed that because again, like I really don't fucking pay attention to anything going on with Monday Night Raw. I've really lost all interest in Monday Night Raw for WrestleMania season. Like even the builds for these matches have been so lackluster that I really don't care about anything else that Monday Night Raw does. I am only focused on the matches themselves at WrestleMania. So, as soon as WrestleMania is over, then I'll probably give Monday Night Raw just a little bit of slack. Hopefully, they'll get back on the right track. I doubt it, because, again, it's Monday Night Raw. Rollins defeated Benjamin, decent match, and then we go into an Intercontinental Championship match between Bobby Lashley and Finn Balor. And, again, I am going to reiterate this numerous times. I could reiterate this until the day that I pass. Finn Balor is one of the best wrestlers in the company right now, and even he can't bring Bobby Lashley to a good match. Bobby Lashley, I still do not understand why WWE even signed him in the first place if he has done absolutely nothing and he has added no value to the show whatsoever. And what I don't understand is the fact that supposedly WWE has big plans for Finn Balor. Why? Why, if you have plans for Finn Balor, these big plans for Finn Balor supposedly for WrestleMania, why put the Intercontinental title on him to begin with if you're just going to take it off of them in 3 weeks? Ever since December, the Intercontinental Championship has been portrayed like an absolute fucking joke. The Intercontinental Championship has absolutely suffered ever since that feud with Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, which not only ruined Dean Ambrose's character, but it ruined Seth Rollins for the moment before he won the Rumble. It made the Intercontinental Championship absolutely irrelevant. Ambrose held it for a month, lost it to Lashley. Lashley held it for a month, lost it in his first title defense to Finn Balor. Finn Balor held it for 3 weeks, and now it's back on Lashley. And Lio Rush caused the distraction, made Finn Balor look like a complete idiot. Bobby Lashley is a 2-time Intercontinental Champion. I would much rather have the Intercontinental title in a multi-man match rather than the United States title. Both mid-card titles on the main roster have been portrayed like fucking hot potatoes, and I was talking to Earl Cole about this on the Rundown for Fastlane last week. Him and me were discussing that the hot potatoing of the championships not only devalues the prestige of the title, but it's disrespectful to the superstar. So I can only hope that Finn Balor gets the Intercontinental title back sometime after WrestleMania. I would much rather see a multi-man match for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania because, you know, any singles match with Lashley is absolutely piss poor. So from that fucking disaster, we go into a Ronda Rousey promo, and let me tell you something. I love the I don't give a fuck attitude from Ronda Rousey, but I still don't understand how she's still lacking in the promo department. Like, literally, the heel persona and the intensity is good. The words are very good, and I love the just, fuck you, I don't give a fuck attitude, but why does she have to sound like she's rapping Eminem's Rap God every single time she cuts a promo? No pun intended towards the fact that WWE and Eminem did sign a deal, but no pun intended towards that. But again, she's like rapping Eminem's Rap God every single time she cuts a promo. Slow down, please. And then Dana Brooke came out, and this was probably the most cringiest part of the show. Dana Brooke coming out with this sob story. She looked just I can't even describe it. Like I can't even describe it. She's coming out here. She's looking like she's on the verge of tears. Dana Brooke called up from NXT way too early. She's done absolutely nothing. She can't do anything in the ring outside of a few cartwheels and backflips. Dana Brooke, I don't understand why she's even on the Monday Night Raw roster. I don't even understand why she's employed by the WWE in general. You know, I went through a procedure, and I was making it very public. I went through my procedure on Monday to find a cure for this intestinal disease that I got, and I swear I had to get 3 needles in my arm. I felt like a human pincushion. I would much rather go through 6 needles in my arm. And I'm probably going to have to go through another. I actually have to go through more needles in my arm every 2 months because they got this new medication for me, and the only way it can be transmitted is through an IV. I would rather have 7 IVs done to me for the next 2 months rather than listen to Dana Brooke cut this promo. Ronda Rousey destroyed her afterwards. Ricochet and Aleister Black defeated Rude and Gable, and then they were attacked by the Revival afterwards. I'm assuming they're setting up the Revival versus Black and Ricochet at WrestleMania, which I have no problem with. I mean, you give those guys 15 minutes for the Raw Tag Team titles, they could put on a pretty damn good match, so I wouldn't mind that. Moment of Bliss, and Bliss announced that she will be hosting WrestleMania. Kill me now. Kill me now. Who cares? Seriously, who cares? Alexa Bliss is hosting WrestleMania. Like she's going to make the show any better. Like her presence is going to make the show any better. I don't care if you think she's hot. I don't care if you're a fan of her. Alexa Bliss and her promos have become absolutely cringy and repetitive. The only thing I can hope for is that Alexa Bliss, she's been training at the PC supposedly, and supposedly she's actually getting very good. So supposedly, I hope that Alexa Bliss will actually start showing some improvement in the ring when she does return to the ring. She also denied reports that she was injured. So I don't really know what to believe anymore as far as that goes. Strowman destroyed a car from the SNL boys. And apparently he'll see them at WrestleMania. They're going to get these hands. Who gives a shit? Elias did his normal shtick. Natalya versus Nia ended in DQ. Or was there even a match to begin with? Because Beth Phoenix came out to aid Natalya. They had this big brawl with Nia Jax and Tamina. And then we had Sasha and Bayley in the background attacking Nia Jax and Tamina as well. So I really don't want to see any of these teams except for Sasha and Bayley compete at WrestleMania. Supposedly, the Iconics did call out Banks and Bayley for WrestleMania. So I wouldn't really mind that. I mean, the Iconics are definitely better wrestlers than Nia Jax and Tamina. That's not saying much. The Iconics are fucking aids to my ears whenever they speak. Because they are absolutely cringy when they're like, oh, everything's iconic. Everything's iconic. Oh, you defeated Nia Jax and Tamina. Seriously. I don't think they were this bad at cutting promos in NXT. I think they're suffering. They're suffering from what Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss were suffering. They're getting worse as their time goes on. Next, this was actually probably the only good segment about the show, and then the main event. Triple H and Batista had their face-off. Batista, surrounded by securities, he's wearing this sparkly blazer with blue sunglasses. He's just coming out looking like $1 million, just coming off as a dick. And Batista's like, you know what I want, but you're not going to give it to me because you're not in control. Triple H grants Batista his match at WrestleMania, and Batista's like, that's all I ever wanted. So now I can end your career on my terms. Triple H says, yeah, the match is going to be on your terms, but the rules will be on mine. No countouts, no disqualifications, no holds barred. So no holds barred match between Batista and Triple H. I can get behind that. Kurt Angle then addressed his future. He said he'll be competing in his farewell match at WrestleMania. Then we had a quick 5-minute match with Kurt Angle and Apollo. And Kurt Angle defeated Apollo. So I don't really know who they're going with. Supposedly, there's been rumors circulating that they're going to have John Cena versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania, which I wouldn't mind. There is reports that since Finn Balor is being groomed for big plans at WrestleMania, it could be Finn Balor. Again, I don't really know. Based on what happened on SmackDown, then I'm guessing that the plans for Joe and Cena for the U.S. title at Mania were scrapped. And I think they could very well be going with John Cena versus Kurt Angle at Mania. I'll talk about what happened on SmackDown once we get to SmackDown. But, again, Kurt Angle competing in his farewell match at WrestleMania. They're trying everything to make WrestleMania big. And, this is one of them. I have nothing but respect for Kurt Angle, so I wish him the best of luck in his life outside of WWE once he does retire. I can't wait to see who he does face at Mania. I'm actually very interested in this. Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin was set for the main event. And, by the way, I don't know if you heard, but Roman Reigns and this whole feel-good story of Joseph Anoa'i overcoming leukemia has died off. You know why? You listen to the reaction when Roman came out in Pittsburgh, of all towns, and there was only about 15% cheers, and everyone else was dead silent. You know what's going to happen next? Soon as WWE starts up with their old classic booking tactics with Roman Reigns is going to be back to the go-away heat. Roman Reigns is going to be back to booze everywhere he goes. This was only the start. McIntyre attacked Roman. The doctors wanted to check on Roman's eyes and vision. And the Shield, Ambrose and Rollins, guided Roman to the trainer's room. Ambrose wanted McIntyre. Ambrose got McIntyre. This went all over the arena, in the concession stands, food court, in the crowd. We had Dean Ambrose and Drew McIntyre brawling by the announce table. McIntyre stabbed a pencil in Dean Ambrose's eyes. McIntyre put Dean Ambrose in the steel railing going backstage, and he claymored Dean Ambrose. The railing came off. McIntyre won. And I do have some news on where they're going with McIntyre as far as WrestleMania goes. And it was pretty obvious on Monday Night Raw. I mean, like, a 2-year-old could have predicted this. But regardless, I'm going to go over it anyway when we get to the news, rumors, and reports. Outside of the main event and Batista and Triple H, Monday Night Raw was boring, it was stale, and it's pretty much the same thing that we've been getting. Monday Night Raw has been absolutely horrendous. Horrendous as far as this WrestleMania build goes. If you're a fan of Monday Night Raw at this rate, I mean, you either have very low standards or you have very low intelligence. Plain and simple. I mean, I've reiterated the same thing over and over again as far as Monday Night Raw goes for God knows how long. So has each and every single one of the people with an actual sense of intelligence on Twitter. Although it's not too many, because I've come in contact with a lot of fucking idiots as far as Twitter goes in the last week. SmackDown Live. So Shane McMahon kicked off the show. And he came out, just walking out very calmly. And he grabbed Greg Hamilton. He made Greg Hamilton come in the ring. And he pretty much bullied Greg Hamilton to say that he's the best in the world. And he's just soaking it in, acting like a dick. And I love the fact that he's just coming off as an entitled businessman. Saying, you don't know what I do behind the scenes every single day. I'm sick and tired of people coming to me and asking me what I can do for them. It's always about them. But now, that all changes because it's about me. I didn't become the best in the world because I won a trophy or I became the tag team champions. I was born that way. And Shane McMahon's right. You know, he was born that way. He's a fucking McMahon. And at the end of the day, he is his father's son. Just coming off as an entitled business. This is great shit from Shane McMahon. And you know something? I was completely against this Shane McMahon and Miz storyline for the last few months. But after what we've been getting, I am all for it. I am absolutely all for it. The storyline that they've been telling with Shane McMahon and The Miz has been very consistent, and I would even dare say that it has been better than literally every WrestleMania storyline on Monday Night Raw. That includes the Universal Championship match between Rollins and Lesnar. That is saying something. That is definitely saying something. He makes the match between The Miz and himself at WrestleMania, and I am actually very interested to see where they go with the babyface Miz. He has been doing a very good job, I would say. The Miz, specifically, at being a babyface. He's modified his in-ring style a little bit. I can respect that from The Miz. The Miz is almost becoming, dare I say, fun to watch in the ring. Especially after what he showed at Fastlane. Modifying his style, doing the springboard double axe handle, the double knees, doing a crossbody, a frog splash. So you gotta give respect to The Miz for modifying his in-ring style, switching it up, and surprising a lot of people. And I think The Miz could very well surprise a lot of people with this new babyface role. The New Day interrupted the 8-man tag match between the Hardys, Ricochet, Black, Shinsuke Nakamura, Rusev, and The Bar. Everyone was going back and forth. Ricochet and Black were able to take out Rusev and Nakamura. We had Hardy hit the Swanton Bomb on Cesaro, which I believe was broken up by Rusev and Sheamus. And then all 4 teams were brawling. All 8 people were brawling. New Day came out and took out all the teams. Now, if the New Day is going to be serious, and a serious New Day is what we're going to be getting with this Kofi Kingston storyline, then I'm all for it. The reason why I didn't want Kofi Kingston in this position is because, A, he did just luck into it because of Mustafa Ali. And I'm going to continuously say this. It doesn't matter that Mustafa Ali's new. If Mustafa Ali was on the role that Kofi Kingston was on with the Gauntlet match, the Chamber, Fastlane, and everything that's been going on with Kofi Kingston, if you put Mustafa in that position, Mustafa would have the same amount of momentum as Kofi, and Mustafa would be positioned for the WWE Championship match at WrestleMania. And you can't deny that. We had a promo between Randy Orton and AJ Styles, which was really intense. I absolutely love the intensity, and I love the verbal jabs that they were throwing at each other. Randy Orton saying that this is the house that Randy Orton built when AJ Styles was down in Florida getting a tan with Dixie Carter and wrestling for $10 an hour on the indies when Randy Orton was wrestling The Undertaker and become the youngest world champion. Styles came out and said that, you know, Randy, you wouldn't have survived in my world, not with this and a knockoff diamond cutter. Randy Orton then mocked the Bullet Club. Surprise, surprise, I'm wearing a Bullet Club shirt. And Styles goes, you know, you want to talk about my indie pals? You're surrounded by them backstage because they earned their right to be here in the WWE, and they didn't go their father to get him a job. And then Styles was coming after Orton's entire past with factions like Evolution, saying that Evolution was around to make sure you didn't fail. Maybe you don't remember Legacy, or Rated RKO, or the Wyatt family. Styles said that Randy Orton's a viper and he will cast anyone to the side as soon as he's done with them. Styles said he will not be Orton's next victim. Randy Orton then said, you don't have a choice because I'm the landlord and rent's due, you son of a bitch. Styles said, you want your rent? Pointed to the WrestleMania sign, come and take it. So SmackDown side of WrestleMania, SmackDown single-handedly is keeping me interested in WrestleMania. I am just pointing that out there. Because outside of the matches that look good on paper on Monday Night Raw side, SmackDown side, as far as the build go, is getting me hyped for WrestleMania. And I absolutely respect whoever is booking SmackDown Live, because SmackDown Live was a great episode on Tuesday. The polar opposite of Monday Night Raw. Polar opposite. We had Asuka defeating Sonya Deville in about like 3 minutes. Mandy Rose kind of caused Sonya Deville to slip because Mandy Rose was like shaking the ring apron. I don't like the fact that they're going to break up Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, especially before they get a tag team title opportunity. You know, the Iconics were vying for a women's tag team title opportunity. I would rather give the title opportunity to Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville because they work much better as a tag team, to be quite honest with you. They are the superior wrestlers to the Iconics. Becky Lynch addressed the crowd, and she does not have the crutch anymore. Becky was trashing Ronda Rousey, and she's like, do you know how hard it is to play mind... I think this is what she said. Do you know how hard it is to play mind games on someone without a brain? I think that's what she said. I'm not completely sure. Again, like, I review all 5 of the weekly shows here on the show, so I can't remember every little detail. But Becky, I do it every day. Becky, I do that every day. Literally. All of my doubters and deniers don't have a fucking brain, and I play mind games on them every day. I got them on strings like a puppet. And you know, when she said that, it actually reminded me of a certain diehard Ronda Rousey fan without a brain. Ryan Lauder, how are you? Did I ever tell you about Ryan Lauder? Did I ever tell you about him? So I mentioned him a few times on Twitter. He's like this fucking 40-year-old loser from California who can't keep my name out of his mouth. But recently, he's actually been pretty silent, which is actually quite surprising. I mean, like, I have a lot of people who still talk about me even after I block them and move on. Meanwhile, I'm succeeding at life, and they're wallowing in a pit of their own misery. Ryan Lauder is actually one of these people. He hasn't... I don't think he's mentioned my name in the last week, which is actually quite surprising, because I have fans who look out for me, and you know who you are, God bless you, who look out for me and tweet me when people are talking shit about me, but recently he hasn't said anything, which is actually quite surprising. Hey, who knows? Maybe he decided to actually go out and get a life and some friends instead of using my name for relevancy and watching Monday Night Raw with his mother. If so, good on him. Anyway, kind of getting off topic. Charlotte then came out saying, I've been holding this division down for 4 years, and Becky said, you know what? You've been holding the division down for 4 years. You didn't do anything with it. I came along, and now we're the main event of WrestleMania. WrestleMania needs the man. That's all Becky needed to say. So, quick, easy, straight to the point. After that, we actually had a couple of decent tag team matches. We had Ray and R-Truth defeating Andrade and Samoa Joe. R-Truth was still doing the John Cena shtick, obviously playing up to his comedic role, which is actually pretty fun. I have no problem with R-Truth doing it. I mean, R-Truth is entertaining, and he can wrestle. So, Samoa Joe is in the ring, and he gets taken out by Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio hits the double 619 on Joe and Andrade. Joe moves out of the way. Rey hits the splash on Andrade. Joe was going for the Uranagi after he hit the senton on Mysterio, and Rey Mysterio rolls up Joe for the win. And then Joe just takes out everyone. Joe takes out Truth, and then Joe takes out Andrade. So if they're building up towards Rey Mysterio versus Samoa Joe for the United States title at WrestleMania, I have no problem with that, as long as Samoa Joe walks out the victor. As far as Andrade and Truth go, you know something? Why not give Andrade the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy? I wouldn't mind that. Give Andrade a WrestleMania moment, and give Andrade the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy. And, there you go. There's an easy out for Andrade. Samoa Joe can retain the U.S. title. Andrade can move on to bigger and better things. Possibly a United States Championship reign in the summer. I wouldn't mind that. We had Rowan and Bryan defeat Ali and Owens. And Ali and Owens were actually working very well together. Double super kick to Rowan. Owens was then taken out by Rowan, thrown into the barricade. Rowan made the tag on Bryan, and Rowan caught Ali as Ali was coming down off the top rope, hit the claw choke slam, and defeated Ali. And Rowan and Bryan win another decent tag team match. Then in the main segment, this was actually a great fucking segment, and I absolutely, this actually got me invested in Kofi Kingston for a WWE Championship match at WrestleMania. This is what I wanted. The reason why I didn't like the fact that Kofi was getting all this attention, and the reason why I didn't like the fact that Kofi Kingston and the New Day were getting the main event spotlight is because the New Day, whether you want to admit it or not, no matter how great they are, they're a tag team, they're a unit, but as singles guys, when you're a singles guy, you got to be a little bit more serious. There's only certain cases where singles guys and comedic, fun-loving roles actually work out. Kofi Kingston was not in the correct position to become WWE Champion if he's throwing out boxes of cereal and pancakes and doing skip claps as a part of the New Day. That's why I said the New Day needs to break up if Kofi Kingston was to get a WWE Championship opportunity. But based on what happened and seeing how Kofi, Big E, and Xavier were spitting a lot of truth at Vince McMahon. You've been treating us like trash. We flew across the world to India. We do every single promotional meetup that you have asked of us. Kofi Kingston's like, I'm always here. I've missed a lot of memories and I missed a lot of moments at my house, like when my son lost his first tooth, but I was here competing, or when I can't go trick-or-treating with my kids because I'm here, and I'm here busting my ass for you. And all I want you to do is tell me what I have to do in order to become WWE Champion. And then Randy Orton comes out, Samoa Joe comes out, The Bar comes out, Rowan comes out, and Vince McMahon's like, you defeat those 5 men in a gauntlet match next week, you're going to WrestleMania. So next week we got a gauntlet match, and Kofi Kingston, my God, the overwhelming support that Kofi Kingston's going to get, if he wins this gauntlet match, Kofi Kingston could be the hottest fucking thing in the WWE right now. This could be hotter than Kofi Kingston's run and his feud with Randy Orton in 2009. That's saying something. But a great episode of SmackDown Live, and then we had 205 Live right afterwards, which was very good. 205 Live, 2 very good semifinal matches. The crowd was a little lackluster, and I was expecting that after such a great episode of SmackDown. But there was like a little group of people in the front that were trying to keep the energy alive, and I respect them for doing so. I was actually surprised that they had Tony Nese and Drew Gulak main event, considering that the better of the 2 matches were it was Oney Lorcan versus Cedric Alexander. Now, this started off slow, very physical too. Oney Lorcan's chops are absolutely deadly. I don't want to take Oney Lorcan's chops at all. Cedric started to fire back, hit the neuralizer. The slingshot flatliner, Oney Lorcan kicks out. Cedric, towards the end of this thing, or towards midway actually, Oney Lorcan hit that running blockbuster. I love Oney Lorcan's running blockbuster. It's absolutely great. It's quick, it's effective. I love the snap and the whiplash that it gets. Cedric Alexander hit a STO on the apron, and then the Michinoku driver to Oney Lorcan, but Oney Lorcan kicked out. Oney Lorcan hit not one, but two half-and-half suplexes. One of them was a standard one, and Cedric kicked out. The other one was from the top rope. Cedric still kicked out. I thought Oney Lorcan was going to advance. I thought Oney Lorcan was going to WrestleMania, to be quite honest with you, because Oney Lorcan is a very underrated performer. But they went ahead with the safe route here. They had Cedric Alexander win a very good semifinal match with the lumbar check, and Cedric Alexander is going to the finals. They went with the safe route, but I don't think that Cedric is going to Mania. And I'll talk about that once we get through 205 Live. Mike Kanellis will also get his wish. They're playing up the storyline with Mike Kanellis, and Drake Maverick said, you better treasure this opportunity and take it seriously, because looking good in defeat will only get you so far. Treasure this opportunity because there may not be another. So I don't know who Mike Kanellis is facing next week. Should be a good match, because Mike Kanellis, he can work. And I think it's actually going to be Akira Tozawa, to be quite honest with you, because they're not really doing anything with Akira Tozawa on 205 Live. So the main event was a very good match, but the crowd really didn't do this match any favors. Drew Gulak was actually the babyface in this one. They were chanting for Gulak. Tony Nese and Drew Gulak. Gulak was very technical in this match, like he always is. Tony Nese was able to fire back, hit a split-leg moonsault towards the end of the match. Drew Gulak hit 2 power bombs. Tony Nese kicked out. Tony Nese got locked in the Gulak, and Tony Nese pushed his foot off the rope, rolled Gulak up, and Tony Nese defeated Drew Gulak in the semifinals. So we are getting Cedric Alexander versus Tony Nese in the finals of this tournament. The matches that they have had in the past, you can expect this to be another classic. You can expect this to be another classic, no doubt about it. And I think that this is Tony Nese's time. I think Tony Nese could very well take this one. I think Tony Nese, if they wanted to, they could end up giving Tony Nese the Cruiserweight Championship at WrestleMania. That would be a huge moment for Tony Nese. Buddy Murphy, I don't even know where he goes after he loses the Cruiserweight Championship. Buddy Murphy needs to be on the main roster. Buddy Murphy needs to be on SmackDown or Raw immediately. Based on what's been going on, I think that Buddy Murphy could very well retain at WrestleMania. But Tony Nese and Buddy Murphy, the two training partners, I think that this could be a very interesting match. I have been a huge fan of Tony Nese. Tony Nese probably one of the most underrated cruiserweights that they got. Tony Nese definitely belongs on the main roster. Cedric Alexander, he belongs on the main roster as well. I would really like to see some more new faces on 205 Live. I would love to see Oney Lorcan continuing to gain more support on 205 Live. Keep Oney Lorcan on 205 Live. He's great at what he does. If they want to make this tournament a staple on 205 Live every single WrestleMania season, then I'm all for it. Last year's was great. This year's is great. The matches for this year's tournament is actually much better than last year's tournament. Every single match for this year's tournament has been fantastic. We had Tony Nese and Kalisto, Oney Lorcan and Humberto Carrillo. Cedric and Tozawa so far was the best match of the tournament. That was the best match of the tournament so far. I think that Cedric and Tony Nese could very well end up outdoing themselves come next week. But overall, very good episode of 205 Live. I can't wait to see who they pick for Buddy Murphy at WrestleMania. I think it's going to be Tony Nese. And I think that it's going to be a very, very interesting match. Definitely a match to watch out for. Keep an eye on the Cruiserweight Championship match between Tony Nese and Buddy Murphy, should they go forth with that idea. NXT UK. This was mainly built around the main event, which was Walter and Pete Dunne versus the Coffey Brothers of Gallus. Everything else was pretty standard. Nothing too crazy. We had a decent 5-minute match to kick off the show between Wolfgang and Flash Morgan Webster. Flash Morgan Webster flying to the outside 3 times. Flash Morgan Webster. I want to see Flash Morgan Webster on 205 Live. I think that Flash Morgan Webster on 205 Live would be fantastic. I would love to see him mix it up with guys like Cedric and Tozawa and Mike Kanellis. I think Flash Morgan Webster would be a great addition to 205 Live. Wolfgang, towards the end of this thing, ended up powerbombing Flash Morgan Webster into the ring post and then right onto the apron. And the thud that you heard was actually pretty brutal. And then he hit a reverse gourd buster. I don't know what he calls it, but it's like he goes for a suplex, and instead of suplexing him on the back, he turns him and suplexes him right on his stomach. Wolfgang defeats Flash Morgan Webster. We had an interview with Cassius Ohno. Interesting to see what Cassius Ohno does in NXT UK. We had a pretty quick tag team match between Amir Jordan and Kenny Williams, defeating Saxon Huxley and Tyson T-Bone. Now, we all know that Mustache Mountain is the team to take the titles off the grizzled young veterans. I'm assuming that they're building up Amir Jordan and Kenny Williams kind of as an underdog babyface team, and they're going to be interim opponents for Zach Gibson and James Drake, which I wouldn't mind, because Zach Gibson and James Drake, they need a couple more interim opponents and a couple more successful title defenses before they lose the titles to Mustache Mountain. Next week, we got Eddie Dennis versus Ligero. That should be an interesting match. Noam Dar returned to NXT UK. He is here to stay. He was trashing some of the NXT UK roster, like Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster. So Noam Dar returned as a heel. Interesting. Mark Andrews came out, and he ended up dropping Noam Dar where he stood. So Mark Andrews and Noam Dar are going into a feud for the moment. Now, supposedly Noam Dar is out with an injury, so I'm assuming that we're going to see where Noam Dar got injured in the coming weeks on NXT UK. Kayle Ray made her NXT UK debut, defeating Candy Floss with a pretty swift combination. She hit a brutal super kick and then hit a gory bomb, almost a Widow's Peak gory bomb, to defeat Candy Floss. So interesting to see where Kayle Ray ends up on the NXT UK roster, and how much longer before they actually start pushing Kayle Ray to face off against Toni Storm. I think that would be a pretty interesting match. Right now, I think they're building up Ginny. Ginny is in a prime spot right now to face off against Toni Storm. I'm assuming that that's going to take place possibly next month, because Toni Storm, she had a successful title defense against Rhea Ripley. Xia Brookside's actually being built up in a feud with Rhea Ripley. So we got a lot of storylines in the NXT UK Women's Division. Next week in the main event, we got Tyler Bate versus James Drake. So they're already starting to build up Mustache Mountain versus the Grizzled Young Veterans. The main event, Walter and Pete Dunne versus the Coffees. This was actually a good match. NXT UK ended up going overtime. Walter and Pete Dunne were mainly trying to one-up each other in this match. We had the Coffey brothers just, bringing the intensity. Joe Coffey tossing Pete Dunne into the barricade with that bull rush headbutt spear type move that he does. Mark Coffey hit the enziguri on Walter. Walter and Pete Dunne actually had double submission holds, and Joe Coffey slammed Pete Dunne on top of Walter to break up the submission hold. Then Joe Coffey went for the title. He went for the NXT UK World Championship, and he was going to hit Pete Dunne with it. And Pete Dunne was able to thwart that. They had a stare-off. Pete Dunne and Walter had a stare-off. Walter took out Mark Coffey, hit a powerbomb, and Walter and Pete Dunne won. And then in the end, Walter handed Pete Dunne the United Kingdom Championship. Obviously, this is building towards Walter and Pete Dunne at TakeOver New York, and they still haven't confirmed it. They still haven't confirmed it on NXT UK, so interesting to see when they actually confirm it and how they do it, if they do a contract signing and everything. Because I've never actually heard Walter speak. Walter has cut no promos ever since he came to NXT UK. He had a few verbal exchanges with Pete Dunne in the ring, but no microphone. No microphone, no verbal conversation with anyone. So, Walter is being built up as almost like a silent badass. And the match with Pete Dunne is at TakeOver New York, and I'm actually interested to see this match because Walter, he hasn't really had his breakout match in NXT UK. Look, he's a great wrestler. I am very impressed with what Walter's shown so far, but he hasn't really had that match for me that has really opened my eyes and have been like, wow, look at this guy. So I'm assuming that Pete Dunne is going to be the one to bring it out of him. Why? Because he's Pete fucking Dunne. It's Pete Dunne. Look at what Pete Dunne's done in the past 2 years with that title. You're telling me he's not going to do the same with Walter? I'm excited to see what they do at TakeOver New York. Speaking of TakeOver New York, NXT. Very good episode of NXT. We had the 2 semifinal matches of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Starting off with a good match between the Forgotten Sons and Mustache Mountain. Tyler Bate doing everything he can to thwart the Forgotten Sons opportunity. We had Tyler Bate do the double airplane spin, which I still can't believe he does. I am like still blown away that Tyler Bate is still able to do what Tyler Bate does. There is absolutely no logical explanation why Tyler Bate should be able to do the shit that he does. Tyler Bate exploder suplexed Wesley Blake into Steve Cutler on the outside, and then hit a shooting star press on the outside. Trent Seven was in the ring, and I believe he hit the springboard lariat dragon suplex combination, but Jackson Riker put Steve Cutler's foot on the bottom rope. Tyler Bate went up top for the burning hammer knee combination, but the ref didn't see as Wesley Blake, I believe, or Steve Cutler actually, threw Tyler Bate off the top rope into Jackson Riker's clothesline. Trent Seven went to help, but Wesley Blake intercepted Trent Seven. They hit the diving stomp reverse DDT combination. The Forgotten Sons defeat Mustache Mountain. The Forgotten Sons are going to the finals. The Forgotten Sons have really impressed. The Forgotten Sons have come such a long way, and they are very good in the ring. They are very good in the ring. The Forgotten Sons have really come a long way, and they have really shown a lot of improvement as far as in-ring ability goes. So I can't wait to see what they do with Ricochet and Aleister Black. Io Shirai versus Bianca Belair. That ended in a DQ because of Shayna, which was actually turning into a decent match. Kairi Sane then failed to help, and Shayna Baszler ended up choking out all 3 women. And then it was revealed by William Regal that it's going to be a fatal 4-way at NXT TakeOver. Now, that sounds like a match of the year candidate for the women to me. I believe NXT is trying to give us their own version of Ronda Rousey, Charlotte, and Becky, but this time with an extra body, which I don't mind because Kairi, Io, Bianca, and Shayna, again, match of the year candidate for the women. And it's unpredictable. You don't know who's going to come out victorious. They could go with any 4 of those women. Especially since NXT, they got their own little takeover going on, not followed by a main roster pay-per-view. That's going to be on a Saturday. I believe it's going to be on June 8th in San Jose. So, interesting to see where the NXT Women's Championship is, where it is there. Whether it's on Bianca, whether it's on Shayna, or whether it's on Io, or whoever. Next week, we got Keith Lee versus Dominik Dijakovic. I cannot wait for this match after what we saw in their first match. So you can imagine that these two are getting ready to tear the house down again. And then the main event, a very good tag team match between Ricochet, Aleister Black, and DIY. So, Tommaso Ciampa was pretty much, just wearing down Ricochet in this one. We got the hot tag to Aleister Black. Aleister Black hits the springboard Asai moonsault. We had a slingshot DDT to Ricochet, I believe it was, and then Tommaso Ciampa hit his draping DDT to Aleister Black as Aleister Black was trying to help. Ricochet kicked out. Then we had a TakeOver Toronto moment with DIY when Gargano had Ricochet in I think it was Aleister Black. He had Aleister Black in the Gargano escape. Ciampa had Ricochet in the Fujiwara armbar, and Ricochet deadlifted Ciampa, threw him into Gargano, and Gargano, he hurt his knee, or so we thought. He hurt his knee, and Ciampa had to go at it alone. We had a great sequence back and forth between Ricochet and Ciampa. Then Black made the tag. Black Mass, 6:30. Ricochet and Aleister Black are facing the Forgotten Sons in 2 weeks in the finals. And then the winners go on to face the War Raiders. Ciampa and Candice LeRae were trying to help Gargano. And they were carrying him. Gargano was limping on his knee. And Ciampa's like, come on, buddy. And picks him up. Gargano's standing there. Ciampa, he turns around. He's got this raging look on his face. He goes to throw Gargano into the LED board like he did at TakeOver Chicago 1 2 years ago. Gargano stops him, looks up, smiles. He's like, no. Ciampa's got this, what the fuck is happening look. And Gargano's like, he throws him into the LED board, shaking his leg. Gargano's like, no. See, that's what it's all about. DIY, man. DIY. Just super kicks the shit out of Tommaso Ciampa. The crowd's going fucking crazy. Gargano faked the injury all along. He played Ciampa. He beat Ciampa at his own game. And you know something? After what we got, it just pains me. It breaks my heart. It breaks my black heart, no pun intended, that we're not going to get to see Gargano and Ciampa at TakeOver New York. But after what's been rumored, you know, I'm not going to spoil it, but after what's been rumored, I'm really not complaining, because after what's being rumored, I think that we're going to get a match where we could get a fucking match of the century. We could get a fucking match of the century with what's been rumored for the NXT Championship title picture at TakeOver New York. TakeOver New York right now could very well be the best TakeOver of all time. The best TakeOver of all time for me was still NXT TakeOver New Orleans last year. And after what they did last year, it's going to be very hard to top that. But, you know, if anyone can do it, it's Triple H and NXT. And I think they could very well top NXT TakeOver New Orleans with TakeOver New York come April 5th, I believe that it is. Because they got the Ring of Honor show. They got that Ring of Honor show the day before WrestleMania. And WWE, they're afraid of competition, remember that. So, that wraps up the weekly show reviews as we're coming up on 50 minutes. Let's talk about the news, rumors, and reports. My first report actually comes from a couple sources. Number one, John Fisher reported that he sees only 2 out of the 3 baby faces for the 3 major programs at WrestleMania walking away with their titles. Now, the 3 major babyface programs that they got going on in WWE right now are Kofi Kingston, Seth Rollins, and Becky Lynch. Brad Shepard even quoted that if people think Seth Rollins and Kofi Kingston and Becky Lynch are all walking out of WrestleMania as champions, yeah, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. I see that as very, very low odds. So based on that report alone, what I see happening is I only see Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch walking out of WrestleMania with their respective titles. The reason why I say that is because there was a report, I believe it was either 5 days ago or last week, where there were multiple rumors circling social media, including Twitter, and obviously Twitter is my domain. I fucking own Twitter. What's been going on is the fact that there's been rumors circulating that it doesn't matter who Bryan is facing at Mania. Whether it be Kofi, whether it be Ali, whether it be Owens, it doesn't matter who Bryan is facing at Mania, because it is being said that Daniel Bryan is slated to retain regardless. And you know something? I really don't have a problem with that. Basically because of the fact that Daniel Bryan has just been so good in this heel role that he's been portraying that it's very hard to take the title off of someone as good as Daniel Bryan, especially in this heel role that he's been portraying. He hasn't slipped at all. He has not slipped at all. Everything that Daniel Bryan has been doing has been absolutely picture perfect. So for you to take the title off of someone like that, even if it is for, someone as hot as Kofi Kingston, it wouldn't really make too much sense, and it would kind of be a bit detrimental. To be quite honest with you. I want to see Kofi Kingston as WWE Champion just as much as the last guy, because I'm a fan of Kofi Kingston, and I think that this storyline with Kofi Kingston has really taken over WrestleMania season as the hottest program. Originally, it was Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch, but because they added Charlotte, and they had to go through this long, complicated-ass storyline with Becky getting suspended, then unsuspended, then injured again, and Charlotte and Becky at Fastlane, and Ronda Rousey turning heel, and all this other shit, I feel as though that just watered it down, and everyone's just like, can we get this match over with? Can we get Becky Lynch the title, and can we move on to something else? Kofi Kingston in this storyline, this has been developing since before the Elimination Chamber. And this all happened organically, and WWE is just running with it. So I think that the Kofi Kingston storyline has been taking over the WrestleMania season as a whole, and it's become the biggest thing. And I think that WWE might use that, and they're going to continue Daniel Bryan's heel role at the expense of Kofi Kingston. So Daniel Bryan, if I was to call someone to retain at WrestleMania, I'm calling Daniel Bryan. Kofi Kingston's not walking out of WrestleMania as WWE Champion. There's no way that you can have Becky Lynch not walk out as Raw Women's Champion, and there's no way you can have Seth Rollins not walk out as Universal Champion. Rollins and Becky need to win, period. Kofi Kingston in this scenario is expendable. You can find someone else to take the title off of Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan right now is the money guy, and Daniel Bryan right now has been carrying SmackDown Live on his back perfectly. So I wouldn't mind seeing Kofi Kingston lose at WrestleMania. Hey, we get a great match. We get a huge moment. We get a great match of the year candidate with Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan. I'm all for it. I don't care. I am all for it. My next report is kind of an obvious one, but I just wanted to talk about it. I wanted to note that Dave Meltzer reported on the Wrestling Observer Radio that Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre is the plan for WrestleMania. And I wanted to talk about this because, I get why they're doing this. First of all, WrestleMania does not need Roman Reigns. WrestleMania does not need Roman Reigns. I would have saved Roman Reigns' return for the Raw after WrestleMania. That's just me. Number two, don't get me wrong. I can see this match being a great match. And I'm not saying I don't want to see this match, because I do. I'm not saying that this match isn't WrestleMania caliber. It is. But are we really going to sacrifice Drew McIntyre for this stale, lackluster Roman Reigns almighty babyface comeback? Seriously, what did I tell you happened on Monday Night Raw? The cheers were very low, and the majority of the crowd was silent. In Pittsburgh! That is a wrestling city. And they were nearly silent for Roman in Pittsburgh. You know what that tells you right there? People don't care about Roman Reigns. People don't care about the Roman Reigns character. Roman Reigns, at this rate, is in a position where it is pretty much an uncertainty. It's an uncertainty where he's going after WrestleMania. But you kind of know where WWE's heading as far as the booking goes. Drew McIntyre, he is next in line to take the title off of Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins needs to beat Brock Lesnar, and at SummerSlam, Rollins needs to drop the title to Drew. Because there's been rumors going around that Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins are slated for Extreme Rules in July. So that's going to be the program for the summertime. So I'm assuming that because of that, Drew McIntyre needs this win. And Drew McIntyre needs to start building more momentum towards a Universal Championship match. Because right now, And right now, there's really no top heels. I mean, if WWE wanted to, which they should turn Roman Reigns heel. Finally, after all these years, they need to fucking cave. They need to turn Roman Reigns heel and finally put him in the correct role. Because Roman Reigns as a babyface, whether you want to admit it or not, Roman Reigns as a babyface will always be a complete flop. And it doesn't matter how much merch sales he's making. Those are irrelevant. It doesn't matter how much of a reaction he's getting. That's irrelevant because it's go-away heat. Roman Reigns and his babyface role over the last 4 years, I don't care how much you're a fucking fan of him, it's a flop. It is an absolute flop. And if you're telling me that Roman Reigns is going to go into WrestleMania, he's going to defeat Drew McIntyre, and if they insert him right back into the Universal Championship title picture after WrestleMania, no matter who it's against, we're going to be back in the same position before he had to relinquish the Universal title, whether you want to admit it or not. I don't see Roman Reigns losing this match. WWE and their own selfish needs are going to come together and they're going to say, fuck Drew McIntyre. Roman Reigns is winning at WrestleMania. Yeah, it's going to be a good match, but at the end of the day, what good is it really going to do for Drew McIntyre if he ends up losing? And that now Drew McIntyre is going to have to work twice as hard, and they're going to have to book Drew McIntyre twice as good in order to make him a believable contender for Seth Rollins in the summertime. I'm even getting a little nervous that they're not going to give Seth Rollins the Universal Championship. I am even more nervous that they're going to end up going with Roman and Lesnar for the Universal title after WrestleMania again. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. Moving on from that, I actually got a report from Mr. Slice Wrestling. I haven't shouted him out in a while. I'm going to have to start doing this every week again. Shout out to Slice Wrestling. Go follow him on Twitter at Slice Wrestling. He tweeted this, and it has to do with EC3. And I quote, report, EC3's stagnant run on the main roster is due to poor timing. When he arrived on the main roster, WWE already had WrestleMania plans in place, and more NXT call-ups soon followed. WWE will be giving more opportunities to EC3 after WrestleMania season. Now, I hope this is true. I hope this is true because EC3, I know he can wrestle. I know he can wrestle. I know he can compete. I know a guy like EC3 was made for the main roster, but the fact is WWE has been so caught up in everything else that they're doing with the NXT call-ups and how they just rushed Roman Reigns' return, how they have been building up multiple storylines with Shane McMahon. You know, WWE is a company where they can't multitask. WWE is not a successful multitasking company. If they were, then everything on Raw and SmackDown would feel important, and everything on Raw and SmackDown, right down to the jobbers, right down to Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder, we would be invested in. We're even invested in the jobbers in NXT, like Humberto Carrillo. Now, I'm not saying Humberto Carrillo's a jobber, but Humberto Carrillo, when he came in and he was being used as an enhancement talent, Humberto Carrillo, we were actually excited to see Humberto Carrillo. Why? Because he's going out there, he's wrestling, and they're giving him opportunities. WWE hasn't been giving anyone opportunities outside of the main individuals. WWE's not been building anyone up outside of the individuals that they want to build up, and they haven't been doing anything with the storylines outside of the same old generic promos that we see week by week by week by week. So WWE, they have themselves to blame as to why EC3's run has been stagnant. I'm hoping that he does get a legit feud and possibly an Intercontinental Championship feud after WrestleMania. I'm actually hoping that he's a part of the Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania, and it's a multi-man match. I'm actually hoping that he wins. That way we can get EC3 versus Finn Balor. I would love to see that match. But I'm just hoping WWE does the right thing and WWE actually starts putting some more effort, especially into the NXT call-up, especially like EC3 and Nikki Cross. Nikki Cross has been tweeting about Asuka, and I've been pitching Nikki Cross versus Asuka based on the quality of matches that they have had over the last number of years in NXT. Nikki Cross and Asuka, that is the best possible match to go for WrestleMania as far as the SmackDown Women's title goes. Whether you have to build up Nikki Cross in these next few weeks, whether it's an open challenge, Nikki Cross versus Asuka is the best possible match for the SmackDown Women's division at WrestleMania. You give those women 15 minutes to kick off the show, you're going to get a great match. Now, my final report is actually a little interesting. It's a little interesting and a little confusing. Cage Side Seats reported that AJ Styles could be moving into a feud with Samoa Joe after WrestleMania, although it is not specified why. Now, AJ Styles and Samoa Joe just had a blood feud over the WWE Championship back during mid to the end of 2018. Samoa Joe, if he's still going to be United States Champion and they're going to put AJ Styles in the United States Championship title picture with Samoa Joe, at the end of the day, we could end up getting a good feud. We could end up getting a couple of good matches, but ultimately, Styles at this rate doesn't really need to be in the championship title picture. AJ Styles has actually been currently asking for a lighter schedule. I mean, if this is going to be a way to write AJ Styles off of television and perhaps get him some time off with his family and make Samoa Joe into a legit beast. I mean, he's already a legit beast, but if you want to see people look at him as even more of a legit beast, then you can have him take out AJ Styles per storyline. And, a match for the United States Championship, that's a very nice undercard match. And it could actually bring back some prestige to the United States title. Samoa Joe's already doing a fantastic job as United States Champion, and he's only held it for like a week. So again, I don't really know why they're going this way, but if Styles is truly taking a lighter schedule in 2019 after WrestleMania, and Samoa Joe still going to be United States Champion, you could have Samoa Joe take out AJ Styles per storyline, have Styles get some time off, and have Joe go on a rampage with the United States title. You can have Joe hold the title till Backlash. That's in June. You can have him drop it to Mustafa, and then you can have Mustafa start building up a program with Andrade, and Andrade takes the title off of Mustafa sometime after SummerSlam. That's how the United States Championship picture should go. So I wouldn't mind this. I would not mind this. I wouldn't mind the match with AJ Styles and Samoa Joe, or a feud with Samoa Joe, but it needs to be for the United States title, and it needs to result in Samoa Joe taking out Styles per storyline if Styles is going to get a lighter schedule after WrestleMania. So again, I don't mind it. We're going to see where it goes. Again, it's supposedly in the plans. It's not certain. And it's not certain why they're even going this route to begin with. Regardless, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of the Lightning Flash Update. I would like to thank each and every single one of you who tuned into this video. We are over an hour. And I'm going to make a few more announcements before I get out of here, because I got a lot to do. Over the course of the next few weeks. Mania week is going to be huge for the DJ Storms brand. Obviously, I still got college work and all that. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to go follow me on Instagram at TheDJStorms. I'm not sure if Instagram is still down. I haven't really been on Instagram very often lately. I never post on Instagram except if I go to a wrestling event or I go to a Wrestling Express event. But follow me on Instagram at TheDJStorms. Follow me on Twitter at HistoryMakerDJS. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to hit that thumbs up. I'm trying to move up in the world. Let's try and get this video to 10 thumbs up. If you're going to give me a thumbs down, well, fuck you. I don't need you. You're an irrelevant bastard. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go and comment down below. Tell me what you liked. Tell me what you didn't like. Tell me your thoughts on the news, rumors, and reports. Tell me which match at WrestleMania you're most excited for. Here's what I also want you to do. I also want you to go and hit that subscribe button if you already have not hit that subscribe button, because we are so close. We are on the road to 300 and we are approaching it rapidly. We are over 250 subscribers. I want you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so, and I want you to drop that notifications bell with a huge purple Rainmaker elbow drop. And you know why? That way you can know whenever I pop up on YouTube, because when I pop up on YouTube, it is the best time to be on YouTube. What I want you to do is I want you to set your calendars. I want you to set your calendars for May 19th. If you live on the East Coast, Wrestling Express is hosting another meetup at Pub 46 in Clifton, New Jersey on May 19th. It's the Wrestling Express meetup for Money in the Bank. Starts at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to be there. Tommy McGrone's going to be there. Glenn Davidson's going to be there. And we are going to have an absolute blast, just like we did for the Elimination Chamber. I had a blast. I'm definitely going to be sure to talk with Tommy McGrone and Glenn Davidson, because I want to collaborate with them. I haven't really collaborated with many Wrestling Express people outside of Earl Cole. Shout out to him. I am working diligently to get tickets to Access. So WrestleMania Access, I believe I should be getting tickets to that on April 5th. That's when I plan on going to WrestleMania Access. Obviously, I plan on going to the Raw after WrestleMania in Brooklyn as well. I'm going to get some fan interviews done. So if you're interested, you can come on my channel. I'll ask you a few questions. It's going to be a fun time for me during WrestleMania week. Also, speaking of WrestleMania week, on WrestleMania Day, actually, in my hometown, Elmwood Park, New Jersey, at the Elmwood Park Recreation Center, WrestleMania YouTube tapings are taking place at 2 p.m. That's when bell time is. I will be there, and a lot of the members of the WrestleMania roster will be there, such as Gunner Trash, Crowbar, Sebastian Cage, and plenty more. The Patriot, Andrew Anderson. That's the WrestleMania YouTube tapings. That is on April 7th. The pre-show and autograph signings start at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and bell time starts at 2 p.m. That's going to go about 3 hours, and then I am planning on heading back to my house, or possibly heading to the WrestleMania tailgate for Wrestling Express. Obviously, it's going to be a busy week. It's going to be pretty hectic. And then, a week after WrestleMania, this is my final announcement, April 14th is WrestleMania Never Forgotten. That is going to benefit all of our veterans. Adam Payne's going to be there. Crowbar's going to be there. And in the main event, we are going to see Crowbar taking on Joey Janela, the bad boy. I have not seen Joey Janela wrestle since 2014 in my first independent wrestling event, when I saw him and Crowbar put on the Jersey Championship Wrestling match of the year. I'm telling you, it was an absolute classic, and I can't wait to see it again. I'm planning on getting a couple of interviews for WrestleMania YouTube tapings and WrestleMania Never Forgotten as well. It's going to be hectic. It's going to be a big week, and it's going to be a big night. Finally, I would like to wish a very happy birthday to Smiley Baby Boo Boo, who actually celebrated her birthday yesterday. I'm actually recording this today on her birthday, but you're seeing it here on Friday, because that's when the Lightning Flash update is. But Smiley Baby Boo Boo, happy birthday. Happy birthday from me to you. I hope you had a nice, relaxing day. I hope you had a great birthday. I hope you had a lot of cake. The cake's important. Gotta have some good cake. So whatever cake you had, I hope it was a delight. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm DJ Storms. This has been the Lightning Flash Update. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will catch you next week. You keep it real.